Good day everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through a full bedroom interior rendering course on D5 Render. So I'm going to be starting from Revit and I'm going to show you how to export to D5 Render from Autodesk Revit. I'm also going to show you how to export from 3ds Max to D5 Render, your components, your bedrooms, and I'm also going to show you the links to download good furnitures for your interior renderings. I'm going to show you how to build up the composition of your interior rendering, and I'm also going to show you how to apply materials, not only apply the materials, but how to edit them to your own suit. And finally, I'm going to show you how to apply realistic render settings to make your rendering exquisite for the purposes you are going to use it for. Also, I'm going to show you how to use some post-production softwares like Photoshop to add more spice to your rendering. So if you have not done so, make sure you hit the subscribe button for more content like this. Also hit the notification bell to get notified when we release new videos like this. We release daily architectural related content, also software tutorials on this channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Without wasting your time, we're going to jump right into the main content of this video. Okay, now we're in Revit. We have our project we want to use for the interior. And now the first thing I'm going to do is to use the section box. So to use the section box, I just want to grab the room I want to use for the interior. So I don't want to drag in the whole project so it won't be too heavy. So that is why I'm going to use the section box. To do that, I'm simply going to go to this properties tab over here and click on this section box icon over here and just tick it. So now I've ticked it. The section box is meant to appear, but it appears that it's hidden. So I'm just going to go to this reveal hidden element icon, then click on it. Then I'm going to see the section box. I don't need to save it now. Then I can just navigate our project to cut where I want to cut. So I'm just going to crop to this place, go over these two direction icons here and use it to just crop it and adjust it to the desired position of the section box. So I'm just going to drag it here to grab the space I want to grab. Then I'm just going to go over here too and crop it to this point here and crop it to this point. Then I'm just going to click on this reveal elements icon. Then I'm just going to click it to hide it again. Then I'm going to look at what we are going to import. And I think this is too much. So I'm just going to click on reveal elements again. Then I'm just going to crop it more. Okay, I think this is enough for this interior. So before we export it, we're just going to click on this icon over here. Then we're going to click on this zoom. So now our pivot point is at the center. We're going to export it. To export to D5, you go to d5render.com and you're going to download D5 Revit plugin. So once you download the D5 Revit plugin and you install it, you're going to see this icon here on your screen in Revit. So you're just going to have this icon available to you so you can export it. So we're just going to click on export. We can adjust this export smoothness. We want to make it at a very high quality. So I'm going to increase it to 12 because it's an interior space. So I want the interior to import with as much details as possible. So I'm just going to click on export and I'm going to place it at the appropriate location where I want it to be. So I'm going to name it bedroom interior. Then I'm going to just click save. Okay, so now we've exported this Revit project. I'm going to start exporting our 3ds Max project. So our 3ds Max families that we'll be using for the interior. So to do that, I'm going to open 3ds Max. Then once I've opened 3ds Max, I'm just going to start opening the components I want to use for this project. So first I'm going to start with the bed. Then I'm going to open our 3ds Max project file. So if you want to get some of this, I'll make this particular 3ds Max families I'll be using for this project available for you to get, but I'll still also recommend some good nice websites for you to download your own 3ds Max components. You can go to websites like MaxBrute. They have very good 3ds Max components. You can download some for free, some you have to pay some money, some are completely free. You could also check 3dsky.org to see if you could get some free ones too there. So they also have some good ones. So those two websites can help you get some free realistic components. So we're just going to drag in this one. For this particular component, I have a V-Ray file and a Corona file. I usually use the Corona format because Corona works better with D5. So I'm just going to click this and drag it here, and I'm going to click open file, and I'm going to click OK. So there is an issue. Alright, so since opening it with Corona didn't work, I'm going to try the V-Ray format, and I'm just going to drag this and I'm going to click open file. Okay, so now we've opened this, we are going to look at these two options and we're going to select the bed we want. So personally, I want to use this one for the interior. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to hold Control on my keyboard, then I'm just going to select all of this. I'm going to hold Control again and just select. Make sure the selection box encompasses all of them. So now I'm going to go under this D5 render tab here. How you'll be able to install this D5, get this D5 render tab on your 3ds Max is you need to go to d5render.com, and also in the same fashion you download your Revit D5 Live Sync. You are going to download 3ds Max and D5 Live Sync. So once you install it on your system, this tab will appear and you'll be able to export from 3ds Max to D5 seamlessly. So we're going to click on this export D5 render file, and once we click on this export D5 render file, this tab will come out over here. So we're just going to click on this selected object only. What it means is that this 3ds Max is going to export the object I've selected currently, only the object, not the two of them. So it's just going to export one. So I'm just going to click on export and I'm going to place it where I wish to place it. Alright, so now we've located where we want to place it. I'm just going to click save. It might take some time, but depending on how heavy the project is, the more time it takes, the heavier it is. Okay, so when it's a file has exported successfully, you're going to see this notification saying export file, export your D5A file successfully. So you're just going to click OK. Then we're going to open other components and repeat the same process we did and export other components. So I'm going to go to this second one, and I think this one are the rugs. So I'm just going to click on this and drag it here, and I'm going to click open file. Then I don't need to save this, so I'm going to click done save and I'm going to click OK. So now we have some rugs here. I'm going to select the one I want, which is this one. Okay, so now as you can see, these rugs, they are selected together. In this kind of scenario, what the issue is that these objects are grouped together. So to ungroup them, we're just going to click on it. We're going to go to groups tab over here and we're going to click on group. So now we've ungrouped them, we could export them separately now. So we're just going to click on this object. We're going to go to D5 render icon. We're going to go to export D5 render file, and the same way selected only export, and we're going to name this rug. Alright, so we're just going to click save in the same fashion. Okay, so we're going to do the same for the next file till we export all we need to export. We're going to click open file, done save as usual, click OK. Alright, so now we want to import some picture frames. As you can see, these are some nice picture frames. So I'm going to import two of them. I'll just use two. So as you can see, we have these ones here with a brown frame, this one with white, and because of the project I want to use the one with a black frame. So I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to go to group icon over here and I'm going to click on ungroup. Then I'm just going to select the ones I want. I just want to select these two. I think they flow very well. I'm just going to click this D5 export, selected object, click on export, and we're going to name it frame. Let me name it frame A. Then I'm going to click save. Or I could just select both of them, hold Control, select both of them, click on export, or rather let me just select one. There's no need of risking it. Export again, click on export, click on frame and name this one 03 frame B. If you see the way I'm annotating the export, you can see how sequentially I'm naming the files, so it will be easy for me to locate them when I'm importing and organize them. So it's also important for you to learn how to also organize your files while working with D5 and 3ds Max, because once you are working with many softwares, it's always important to organize your files, which will yield a better result. So we're going to go to the fourth one. We're going to open this folder. We're just going to drag in the 3ds Max file and we're going to keep open file, done save. Okay, So it's giving us this notification, so I don't need to update it. So I'm just going to click no. I'm going to click OK. Okay, so this is just another extra frame I saw that I liked, and I think I may use it, so I just downloaded it regardless. So I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to click on group, and I'm going to click on group. So now I'm going to select this frame now, and I'm just going to click on D5 export. I'm going to click on export D5 file selected only. Then I'm going to name it as frame C. And I think we've had enough of frames, so let's move to other type of components we'll need. So now I'm going to go to the next. So in the next one is the pendant light. So we're just going to drag in the Corona one. Preferably I prefer using Corona file. So I don't know why opening Corona files is not working. I think I have an issue, but we're going to move on regardless with the V-Ray format. Then I'm going to click on this. Alright, so I just closed my 3ds Max and I reopened it again. So I'm going to try it because sometimes you might just see some unknown issues, and sometimes closing it and reopening it might just solve the issue. So I'm just going to drag it in, and I'm going to click open file. And finally, click OK. So finally it has opened. So we're just going to click on the pendant light we want, which I prefer this one. So I'm just going to select this, and I'm going to click on this D5 export file, export D5 render file, selected only, and I'm going to click OK, export. Then I'm going to name this as 04 pendant light. Then I'm going to click save. Alright, so we're going to go to the next one. I think that one may be the final one. Let's just click and open it. Then these are for the potted plants. So I'm just going to click on this Corona potted plant, click on this and click on open, and I'm not going to save this. Alright, so now as you can see, we have opened our options for potted plants. So I want to use this one. So I'm just going to click on this, hold Control, click on this. Then I'm just going to click on export D5, export D5 file, export selected only, and I'm going to name this as 05, and I'm also going to name it potted plants. Then I'm going to click save, and I'm going to click OK. So now I'm just going to do one more thing in terms of this exporting files from 3ds Max. There's an extra bed I have, so I just want to keep it as an alternative. So I'm just going to click it, and I'm going to open the 3ds Max file and just export that bed as an alternative to the initial bed we have, just so we'll have options. Okay, so now the bed is open. So what we're just going to do is we're going to select everything. Then we're going to click on D5. We're going to click on export D5 render file, export selected. Then we're just going to name this as 00. Let's name it bed 2, bed B, and we're just going to save it. So now we are done for everything concerning exporting from Revit and exporting from 3ds Max. So now we can finally enter D5 render and start working there. So as this is exporting, let's just wait for it to export a bit before jumping into D5 render. We're just going to click OK. So I'm just going to open D5 render now. So we are currently in a new project in D5 render. If you don't know how to do it, let me just quickly recap. Let's go back to welcome, and I'm just going to show you how to open a new D5. So as you can see, once you click on, if you have downloaded D5 render on your system, which you can download from d5render.com, it's free on their website. It's a totally free software. It's only if you want to pay for the premium version, you start paying some money, but overall D5 render is free. You just, once you've downloaded it on your system and you have opened it, you are going to see something like this. So you are to create a new file, you are just going to click on new, and a new file is going to open. So now we are in a plain D5 environment. It's usually plain and empty, but once you start working on it, you can start building it up by yourself. This whole tab concerns importing and bringing objects from outside D5. That's what this tab is all about. So you have the import tab, you have the layers, you have the import and object. So as we walk in D5, you are going to see the uses of all these individual tabs, and we are going to see what they are used for. So firstly, we are going to start from importing. So we are just going to click on import here, and we are going to locate where we kept our other files. Okay, so firstly, we are going to start from the main Revit file. That is the main Revit project, and we're going to click it, and we're going to click open. So it will usually take a little bit of time, but once it's completely loaded here, you're just going to click it and you're going to place it. Okay, so now you've placed it. Normally, if you open D5, D5 is defaultly set in orbit movement. But to change this from orbit movement, because me personally, I don't like orbit movement, you're simply going to go to this tab over here, and you're going to change it from orbit to fly. So now you're in fly, you can just move around like a ghost, and it gives you more freedom, in my own opinion. So currently, this is the model we imported. So it was very modeled. You can see the ceiling, you can see everything is looking very nice. You can see the trims and the skirtings. Okay, so now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start placing the other things, the other 3ds Max families, furnitures we exported from 3ds Max. So in the same fashion, we're going to click on import, and we're going to click on this bed, and we're going to click on it. So as you can see, the size of that bed was 90 something MB. So the more detailed the component is, the heavier it becomes. So we're just going to click on it, and as usual, it will take some time to load, and we're just going to place it. So as you can see, once I've selected this object, you are going to see this for this icon here. This icon signifies the options for movement. Like this yellow one that is on this plane, I can use it to move things on a horizontal plane. I can use these colorful directions to direct it where I want to direct it. I could also use this box in the middle to just place it on a 3D plane easily, and I could use this rotate, these curved lines here to rotate the model. So I'm just going to rotate this bed, and I'm going to place it, and I'm just going to place it here. So one important thing you should do, please don't forget this. Once you bring in a project to D5, click Ctrl S. Nothing stops you from clicking Ctrl S. It will save you from losing your progress. So just click Ctrl S and save the project. So let's locate where we want to save it. You simply locate the file location where you want to keep it, and you are just going to save it. Let's name this bedroom render and save. Alright, so we're going to import some other components we've exported. So we're going to click on the rug, the second one, and we're just going to click on it. Then we're going to wait for it to load. Then we're just going to place it here, and we're going to place it over here. We're going to do the same for the other projects. We're going to click on the frames, frame A, and we're going to see how it came in. Then we're going to click on it, and we're going to just place it on the wall here. Let's rotate it and see how it came out. So I think it came out pretty well. So let's just place it here. So we're going to click on import again, and we're going to click on the pendant light. Let's use frame B and import the second frame. And we're just going to place it on the wall, and we're going to rotate it. So now we're going to import the remaining. We're going to click on the pendant light, which I feel is very important. And we're going to click on this pendant light, and we're going to place it. We have an issue with this pendant light, but we're going to see how we can work around these issues. But we're going to place this for now. So we're going to click on import, and we're going to click on the potted plants, and we're going to load it in. So we're just going to place the potted plant here. As you can see, you see how all these components are coming in with their materials. So that is why it's good to use Corona or V-Ray materials, preferably Corona materials on a 3ds Max file, which will come out really well. So we're going to click on import again, and we're going to click on, okay, I think we've imported the potted plant is the last thing. So let's just try that option B bed, and we're going to import it and see how it comes out. So let's just see how it comes out. So this is the second option of the bed. Okay, for now I'll still use this bed, but let me just click escape. So now we've imported all of these things here. Anytime I need any of them, I could just click on this and it will come out from here, as far as it's under this imported directory. So I can just click on it and I'll need it. If I want the first bed, I could just click on it again, another one will appear. So it's like a source. As you see, I just clicked on this bedroom interior. So another Revit model will come out again if I want to. But let me just show you, if I want to, another Revit model will come out. So that is just what this imported directory is all about. So if you now go to object, this object now includes distance you have already placed here. So if I click on this model, for example, I'm going to see it highlighted under this object. So if I click on this eye icon here, I can hide it. I can just even simply click delete and delete it, but I'm just going to click Ctrl Z because I don't want to delete it yet. So this is how to import from various softwares, including like particularly 3ds Max and Revit, to D5 Render. And I think the same goes for even SketchUp and Blender. It's just seamless like that and very simple. Okay, just before moving on, I just noticed an issue. If you look at this bed, you can see that this blanket just intersecting with the bed, which is not looking nice and is a prominent part of this 3D. So I don't want that. I'm just going to go back to 3ds Max and I'm going to go back to my folder where the bed is. So you see why I told you earlier that it's always good to arrange your files very well so you could use it later if you want to. So I'm just going to try and drag this here and I'm going to click on open file and I'm going to click done save. Okay, I just remember this was the one that had an issue with opening, so I'm just going to try and open the V-Ray version. And I'm going to click on this and I'm going to drag this and I'm going to click open file. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to adjust this. You can see the issue here too, is also visible here. So I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to click on this move icon over here in 3ds Max. I'm going to adjust this to a better view where I can see it very well. And I'm just going to gently move it. Okay, and I think we've moved it well. So now we're just going to select all of them again. And we're going to go to D5 Render tab and we're going to go to export D5 Render and we're going to go to click on this selected only. We're going to click on export. Then we're just going to overload it and click on this bed one, which I used to import it earlier, and I'm just going to override it. We're just going to go back to D5 Render and we're going to click on this bed now. So to reload it or to update it to the current version we exported it as, we're just going to go over to this tab here and we're just going to click on reload and we're going to click on confirm. What is stated here is that it's going to show you the part where it is, and this part aligns with where we kept it originally, so we'll just click on confirm and we're going to wait a bit as well. So as you can see, the thing has successfully solved the issue and is looking better now. So now we can start picking our perspective views. To start picking our perspective, we are going to look at something in interior. In interiors, we should always consider the interior as an image, and we should strive for balance. What do I mean by balance? The floor is an element, this wall is another element, and the ceiling is another section. And we want to show components in these three sections. So what are we going to do? We are going to adjust parameters like the speed. This flight, we are going to reduce the speed of movement first. So we are just going to increase the height. To increase the height in D5, you could just click on Q on your keyboard to increase the height, or you could just use this tab over here, increase this and reduce this. We could just click this and adjust this. We could just zoom in a bit, or we could go to this camera settings and we could set the camera view angle. We could adjust it. Let's use 80 degrees. Or we could go to camera again. Let's use 85. So using the prior stated principles, I'm just going to try and select it and set it in a balanced perspective view. And I'm also going to be using vertical elements as an aid to get this 2-point perspective. I will still show you how to apply the 2-point perspective automatic setting, but for now, while picking interiors, I prefer trying to get a genuine 2-point perspective rather than using the automatic setting. So I'm just going to set this and I'm just going to make sure this is balanced, and I'm going to go to camera and I'm going to reduce this view angle to 82, and let's see how it goes. So I'm just going to increase this and I'm going to stop this here. Click on Q again to get some of those cells. Then I'm just going to go over here and just going to click on create new scene. So we have successfully created a scene for this. Alright, so now we are in this view now and we have successfully picked our camera views. We could just click on F8 on our keyboard to just add 2-point perspective settings to just fine tune our view and just adjust it to the left just slightly, just to Let's see if we can perfect this view, and we're just going to click update to make sure we've updated this view. So if on a normal circumstance, I will have just jumped right into application of materials and editing of materials, but our view is still lacking some things. Firstly, we need to put some curtains in these two windows, and we also need to put some bedside lamps. So to put curtains, I'm just going to go back to my folder, and I'm going to try and load in a curtain, but I'm going to open 3ds Max again, once again. Okay, so as usual, I'm just going to click the file, the curtain I want to open, and I'm just going to drag it, and I'm going to click open file. So once it's open, as you can see, we have a curtain and we have a window, but I don't want to import all this, so I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to go to this group tab over here, and I'm going to click on group. So now I've clicked on group, I just need one curtain out of all of these, and which is this one. So I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to go to D5, and I'm going to go to the export D5 render, export selected only, click on export, and I'm going to name this as 06 curtain. And I'm going to save it. Okay, so I'm also going to go and do the same for the bedside lamp, but for this bedside lamp, I'm going to be sourcing it from an alternate source, or rather a kind of complex source. So I'm just going to click on this shelf I downloaded with a lot of stuff, including a lamp. So I'm just going to click, and I'm going to click open, don't save, and I'm going to open this. So now it's open. What I just need is this lamp here, and that is all I need. So I'm just going to click on it. I'm going to click on group, and I'm going to click on group, and I'm just going to select this particular lamp, go to D5 icon, export D5 render file, export selected only, and I'm going to name it as 07 lamp. Then I'm going to click on save. So now I'm going to click OK. I'm going to go back to our D5 file. So I'm just going to start by clicking on this bed and adjusting it a bit and try and centralize it. So I'm just going to click on P to exit our 2-point perspective setting, because if you want to navigate with the 2-point perspective setting on, it's restrictive. So I usually turn it off when I want to navigate, and to deactivate it, like I just did now, you just click P on your keyboard. So now we are going to start by importing that curtain. So we're going to click on import, click on this, and we're going to just click on this curtain, and we're going to import it. So now we're just going to click on this, and we're going to place this. So now, as you can see, this curtain is completely opaque and is just out of proportion. But the good thing is that we can adjust this on D5. So we're just going to click on this, and we're going to go to this size parameter over here, and we're just going to check this icon here and just cross this line by checking it. So now we're going to edit the parameters without any restriction. We're going to change this x-axis to 75 millimeters, which will make it slim on one axis. We're going to click on it again. We're going to change this y-axis to 1.1 meter. That is 1100 millimeters. So now it's narrow. Then we're going to change this height to about let's use 3300, or let's use 3600. Okay, we are making some progress. So now we're just going to click on this, and we're going to hold down shift on our keyboard, and we're just going to drag this to duplicate it. So as you can see, we've duplicated this here. We're also going to do the same for this point. We're going to click on this, and we're going to drag this and copy it by holding shift. So we're just going to rotate this. Then let's rotate it to a better distance. So now we've rotated it. We're just going to make sure it's as close as possible to the wall, and we're just going to hold shift to copy it again on one end of this part. So we have completely copied our curtains now. So now we are going to import our bedside lamp. We're just going to click on import, we're going to click on lamp, and we're going to click on open. Okay, before we place this lamp, one thing I'm going to resolve just now is this bed here is intersecting with this curtain. So I'm just going to click on it and push out this bed just by a bit. So I think this looks good. So now we're going to click on this lamp here, imported directory here. I'm just going to click on this lamp, and I'm going to place it here. So it's looking too small. but we are free in D5. We can do whatever we want. So we're just going to click on go to this tab. We're going to leave this on cross. So if you change the scale, everything will change accordingly. So we're just going to change this to, let's use 375 and click enter, which I think is just almost there. Let's use 400. Okay, so I think this is very good. So we can just click this here. So we can go back to our view and see how it's looking, and it's looking all right. We could also adjust the position of these two pictures. We could just hold Control and select both of them. We could shift it back. We could adjust the position. It's always good to reference back to your view. We could adjust the position of this flower pot. And I think we need one more thing. As looking at this view, of course, we are going to click on this lamp. We are going to hold shift to copy it to this other position. So looking at this view, I think we could do one thing. We could just add an air condition unit to just add some realistic touch to this bedroom. So as usual, we're just going to click on update to see how our scene is getting updated. Okay, for the air conditioning unit, I'm going to go to my own asset library, which I can just click by accessing asset. So this is the online asset library for D5, but I've used an ACE air conditioning unit before. So I'm just going to go to my local library and I'm going to source for the air conditioning unit I've saved previously on my local library. All right, so now I've located the AC unit. I'm just going to click on it and I'm going to place it. Like I said, I'm going to leave all these D5 components available for you to download at a little price, yeah? So you could just keep that in mind that you're supporting the channel. It's just a little price, so it's not something to worry about. So I'm just going to place this AC unit here and I'm just going to go back to this view to look at how it's coming out. So far I think we have already done a lot on the composition. So what now we want to start working on the material application. Alright, so for the material application, I'm going to start from the three basic parts, which are the floor, the walls, and the ceiling. Then I'm now going to go through other aspects and still edit some other aspects given to us by the 3D Experts. So I'm going to, as usual, click F8 or rather click P on my keyboard to exit the 2-point perspective setting. So I'm going to go to Assets and I'm going to go to Online. So I'm going to go to Flooring Tiles, Wooden Floor, because I want to use some nice wooden floor tiles for this. So I'm going to look for a convenient wooden floor tiles given to us by D5. So D5 have some amazing materials that are for free. You don't even need to subscribe to the premium version to get them. That is how amazing D5 is. So we're just going to click and place this on this. So now we've placed this wooden material. We're going to adjust the parameters. To do that, we could simply click I on our keyboard and we're just going to click on this. Then we're going to adjust these parameters. First of all, I'm just going to click on triplanar, this triplanar, and click on it to be checked on. Then I'm going to adjust this stretch to increase or reduce the scale. In this case, I want to increase the scale, so I want it a bit bigger. So I'm going to be leaving it at this. I'm just going to reduce it more. And I think this is okay. So I also want to edit some other parameters of this. I want to change the tint. The tint is looking too brown. I want to adjust it towards reddish. Oh, okay, the scale is even too big, so I'm just going to increase it. So about this scale. Then I'm just going to go over to base color. I'm going to go to this base color and adjust this H value here. And I'm just going to put it towards the brownish red side. So as you can see, the tint changed a bit, and which is looking all right. I'm going to reduce the roughness. I'm going to increase the specularness a bit. So, okay, it's too much. I'm going to reduce the specularness and increase the roughness. So it should just revert back to how it was before. This rug is looking good, but I want it to be beige in color, not really pure white. So I'm just going to click on it, go to this base color value here, and I'm just going to adjust it. Then I'm just going to tone this down a bit and leave it at this. So I think this rug is looking good now. So now we're going to go to the walls. For the walls, I'm going to go to Assets. Under Assets, I'm going to go to Wall. Under Wall, I'm going to click on Wall Paint, and I'm going to wait for a good wall material to load. So I'm just going to click on this white wall paint, and I'm just going to click on it. So under this white wall paint, in actuality, it's very rare to see things that are pure white. So we're just going to give it a little bit of tint, even though it's still pure white. So I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to click on this white, and I'm just going to adjust the white, adjust this H value towards yellow or brown. Then I'm just going to tint it a bit, just a bit. It will still be white, but just slightly tinted. Just adjust this value small. So I think that is good for the walls. So now we're going to work on the ceiling. I don't like the ceiling material that is rough. I want it to be smooth and crispy, or not crispy, smooth and just smooth. So I'm just going to click on assets. I'm going to go to ceramic. Under this ceramic, I'm just going to click on this white, and I'm going to place it on the ceiling. Then for the ceiling, I want it to be pure white. I'm going to click on I to edit it. Click on this. Then I'm just going to change this material template from car paint to custom, so it won't be too glossy. And I'm going to change the color to pure white. I'm going to go to this base color map tab here, click on it, adjust this parameter and increase the whiteness. Then I'm going to reduce the reflectivity, and I'm just going to reduce the specularness more, the roughness a bit, and I'm going to reduce the specularness a bit. So I'm also going to copy this first ceiling material, and I'm going to paste it in this dark ceiling material. The only difference is I'm going to click I, then I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to just make it towards gray, not totally black. Okay, so one important setting to note in all these materials is, in actuality, in real life, to get photorealistic renders, materials don't have sharp edges like this. They actually have beveled edges. It's not perfectly sharp in nature. So we're just going to click on this round corner to bevel the edges. The same, we're going to click on this material, round corner. Click on this round corner setting. We're going to click on this too, round corner. This white is not actually looking white at all. So I'm going to go back to the base color, and I'm going to increase it and make it pure white. I'm going to go to this base color map, and I'm just going to whiten it up so it will look more white. I'm going to increase the speed of this so I can navigate. So now we've done the basics now. So we're going to touch other materials. So we're going to go to this wooden board here, or this aluminum wood lookalike panels. So we're going to go to assets for this. We're going to go to wood and access some D5 wood materials. Let's click on wood and see what D5 has to offer. So what I preferably use for wooden lookalike panels is this light brown maple. So we're just going to place it here. So for this one, these are the dark panels. So we're just going to be using this one for the dark panels. So we're going to be click on escape. We're going to click on I to edit them. Then we're going to click on this. We're going to go to triplanar setting, check it. We're going to go to this round corner and check it too. So now this is looking like this. We're also going to adjust the color, base color map, and we're going to tint it towards the brown, the brownish side, the brownish value. So we're just going to keep it at this. So I think this is looking good. We're also going to go to assets again. We're going to look for a light colored wood, and we're going to use this European. Then we're just going to click on this. So we are going to click on close, and we're going to click on I to edit this. Once we click on this, we're going to click on triplanar. We're going to rotate it, and we're going to change it to 90 degrees and click on OK. So as you can see, this wood is white. So we're just going to adjust the base color map and bring it towards white, so it will be contrasting with these other wooden panels. So now we're going to adjust some other materials. Like as you can see, this our pendant light is actually looking so pale. So we're going to adjust some nice metallic material, and we're going to adjust the emissive value of them. So firstly, we're going to start from this drop down metal. So to adjust this drop down metal, I want it to be steel chrome. So I don't need to go to assets and select a material for this. What am I going to do? I'm just going to go over here, and I'm going to change the color towards gray first. Then I'm going to increase the specular, which is okay. I'm going to reduce the roughness, and I'm going to check this metallic nature on, so it will be maxed. So now this is done, I could just go back to this color map and reduce the grayscale so it won't be too black. Then I'm just going to go to this round corner setter, check this triplanar and check this round corner, so everything won't be looking too sharp and shady. So now we're just going to go and look for a good material for this panel. preferably I'm going to look at the image where I got the model for, and we're going to see how they did it. So they use the gold like material for this with some rough texture on it. So I'm just going to try and mimic that exactly. So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go to metal. So under metal, I'm going to go to click on the metal. So now I'm just going to look for some nice material that can mimic this. So let's try this one and see what it can do. As is we are waiting for it to download, we can be looking for other ones, but I think this will give us what we want. So I'm just going to use this rusty brass and I'm going to place it here. So as you can see, it's not looking all brass like we thought it would. So I'm just going to click on I and I'm going to select this. I'm going to check this triplanar setting on. I'm going to reduce the metallic nature. Then I'm going to also reduce the scale so it won't be too much, or rather increase the value to reduce the scale. So now it's looking rusty. I don't know how good it's going to look at this way, but I think I have faith in what they did here. Let me look at the image once more. Okay, it's not that rough, so let me look for another material. So I'm going to click on assets and let me try this one. So we're just going to click on it and we're going to use this. Okay, so I think this fits better for it. So we're going to click on I and we're going to edit this. First of all, we're going to reduce this metallic. We're going to go to this base color map and we're going to increase the color towards more gold and just make it, I think this is good. So as usual, we're going to check this round corner setting. We're going to go back to this color. It's looking too gold. I don't want it to be like that. Let's bring it towards brownish. So I think this is okay. So I'm just going to click on this. Okay, still not okay. Yes, I think this is okay now. So we're just going to go to this tab here and we're going to use this copy tool. We're going to click on duplicate and we're going to paste this here. We're going to paste this here. So now we have our gold LED light, pendant light. So now we're going to adjust this material that is illuminated. So to do that, firstly, I'm going to slow down the speed of my movement so I can access the material exactly. I'm now going to click on I to select it. So okay, it's actually quite easy. So first of all, as you can see, the emissive material option is selected and set on. So now we are going to leave it on because we want it to be shining, but we can increase the value of the intensity. So let's change the value of the intensity to 30. And we're going to, as you can see, it's glowing more now. Now we're going to change it from, as you can see now, it's really glowing now. So we're going to click on this. Instead of color, we're going to click on temperature and we're going to place it, increase the temperature towards the warmer side. So we're going to go back to our view and we're going to see how what we are doing is coming out, which I think is coming out well. So we're going to click on Ctrl S and we're going to save this. So once more, we're going to click on P to exit the 2-point perspective restraining setting. And I'm just going to try and see if I can change the material of this curtain to yield a better effect. So the light will be able to pass through so it will give me a translucent effect. So how am I going to do this? I'm going to go to assets and I'm going to go to fabric. So D5 has some set of translucent fabric material. So I'm going to look for a good one that I can use for this. So let's try this beige lining and see what it yields. So I don't like this. I'm going to click Ctrl Z. I'm going to look for more materials, fabrics. So let's try this one. Okay, as you can see, this is giving us what we want now. The material is translucent. As you can see, light can pass through it, but we are going to adjust it a bit to see if it will give us what we really want. So I'm going to click on I and I'm going to select this material. So now the material is set at white. We can increase the opacity here to about 80, which I think is good. Then what we are going to do is we are just going to change this base color map and we're going to click on this and we're going to increase this. So I'm just going to click on I to see which parameter I could edit. So now this base color map is gray, so I'm just going to change it to white. So the curtains will be white. That's what I'll have simply done in the beginning. So as you can see, this our material is looking good. We could also still adjust it a bit more. We could click on this and we could reduce the opacity so it won't be too opaque. So enough light will pass through it. So as you can see, let's go back to our image. We can see how this is coming out. Okay, so now I'm going to start talking about the interior lighting now. normally is the exterior lighting is also important, but I'm keeping that part as one of the last parts because it will be among the setting and effects. So I'm just going to keep that part for last. But now we are going to be working on the interior lighting. So P as usual to exit the restrictive 2-point perspective setting. So now one thing in interior lighting, there are two types of light to consider. There is accent light and there is ambient light. Ambient light is the light that gives us the theme of the scene or what we should feel in the scene, like the background light. And accent light is just to highlight certain objects. For this view, we don't have much accent light except for these lamps, and I think the lamps are all, and maybe this wooden board here, which is still okay. So we are going to put some spotlights. We don't have any spotlight in this ceiling, so we're just going to add some. I actually have some D5 spotlights, so I'm also going to be putting this as part of the packages I'll put out for you guys. So I'm going to go to assets, I'm going to go to local, and I'm going to source for my own spotlights. So now I've located the components I want to place. I'm just going to click on this D5 spotlight and I'm just going to place it here. Okay, so now as you can see, it's blinking. Do you know why it's blinking? It's blinking because the material are clashing. So I'm just going to drag it down so these materials will not be on display. As you can see, this is too bright. Why is it too bright? Because if you go to effect here, you are going to see bloom, and we're just going to turn off this bloom for now. We're going to use it later, but not now. So now we're just going to adjust this. We could also click on this material editor, or we could use I as shortcut. Anyways, it can still work. We're just going to select the rims of this bulb and we're going to turn on this round corner so it will look a bit realistic. So as you can see, this is our spotlight. If you look at it on the grand scheme of things, it's too big. So what are we going to do? We are going to reduce the size. We are going to change this value. We are going to change it to 50. So now we've changed it to 50. It's minuscule and it's just appropriate for this view. So we could just adjust it. If you want to adjust it more accurately, you could just click T on your keyboard to access the top view, so you are accessing like an orthographic view, and we are not seeing the other stuff, that we are not seeing other things we can use as reference to arrange this. How are we going to solve this? We are going to go to display. We are going to change this to wireframe so we could see the thing in an axonometric view, or not an axonometric view, rather an orthographic view. So now we're just going to try and place it. Okay, I can't see much information. Yeah, I'm just going to go back to display. I'm going to go back to precise and I'm going to go click on P to go back to my normal settings. So I'm just going to try and copy this. So I'm just going to look, I'm going to place this here. I'm also going to hold shift and place this over here. I'm going to place this over here too, so it will be two bulbs. I'm going to place this, click on this, and I'm going to copy it here. Let me just copy it here, and I'm just going to copy this here. So now these spotlights are here. I can accompany them with some D5 lights. What do I mean by D5 lights? I mean actual lights, not light sources, actual lights in D5. So to get it, I'm just going to click on this bulb icon here, and I'm going to click on spotlight, and I'm just going to place this one over here. So now before I start placing this, it's always good to keep in mind, once you are working with artificial lights in D5, it's also good to go to under this layer tab and create a new layer for them. So we're just going to click on this plus icon here to create a new layer. Then we're going to right click and rename this new layer. We're going to name it as 01. We're going to name it lighten. All right, so now we have created this lighting layer. We're just going to select this light. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on it and we're going to place it under this lighting layer, which is good. So now we're going to reduce the intensity. I'm going to reduce it to about 50. So as you can see, this our interior view is already looking too warm. It's looking like the sun is here. So I want this spotlight to be actually cooler. So I'm just going to reduce this. I'm going to increase the attenuation radius a bit. I'm going to reduce the cone angle, or rather just increase it a bit, and I think we're good to go. So I'm just going to copy it according to how I place this spotlight components here. So I'm just going to copy this, hold shift, duplicate this here and place it right beneath this. I'm also going to click on this, duplicate this here and put beneath this. I'm also going to do the same for here. Click on shift, duplicate and place this beneath this. So as you can see now, you can see all this light here. We can go back to this view. Do you know the good thing about this lighting layer we created? If I'm using a lot of daylight and I don't want this light I just put to show, I'm just going to go over to this tab here and I'm going to click on this eye icon on the lighting layer and I'm just going to check it. So you see the light will hide in this view. So I can place the light where I want to place it and I can off it where I want to off it. So I'm just going to leave it on for now. So as you can see, we have done a good lighting for here. The materials are in check. Everything is looking good. But we could just make some minor touches before we start going into the render settings, and we're just going to touch one or two things and add one or two things. These are just the extras. So let's go. So now, firstly, we're going to click on P as usual to exit the 2-point perspective restrictive setting. So I've just been looking at this material since, and I don't know whether I like it like that. So I'm just going to click I to see if I could edit the parameters. So I'm just going to go under this base. I'm going to go under this normal. Okay, all right, I'm going to go to this. I'm going to go over here. So now I'm going to increase this, change this bitmap. So I could just increase the size and see how it goes. I could reduce the size. Let me increase it a bit. Okay, now I've increased it a bit. I'm going to go under this triplanar setting and click on triplanar. I'm going to go to round corner and try and see if the round corner will work on this. I think that is all for this material. I don't think we need to do too much on this. So now we are just going to place some extra things. We are going to apply some material. As you can see, this ceiling recess is looking weird now. So we're just going to click on this. We're going to copy this material and copy this duplicate, and we're going to paste it here. So everything will be consistent. I want to place some lights within the rims of this ceiling. Like for instance, let's look at here, and maybe the mirrored aspect of the other side. So firstly, I'm going to click on this curtain and I'm going to try and push it to the edge, to the end of the wall. Let me just make sure it's just directly after this window. Okay, so I think we've done that. We're going to do the same for this curtain. We're going to place it at this edge and make sure it's just directly in front of the walls. Okay, so now we've done that. Okay, I don't think it's there yet. I'm just going to adjust it a bit. So let me push it back and see. Okay, I think we should be there now. So now we have done that now. So what I want to do is I want to put some warm recessed LED lights directly in within these recesses. So to do that, I'm going to go to this light icon here and I'm going to click on strip light. So now I'm going to start placing the strip lights in where I want to place it. So of course I'm going to be placing one here. So the idea of this strip light is for it to reflect on this wall here and give a kind of scenery or a kind of effect on this wall. So now I'm going to edit its parameters. But before I edit any parameters, remember what I told you about layer. I'm going to click on this default layer and change it to lighting layer. Then I'm going to increase the intensity to about 50. I'm also going to edit the length. So the length is currently 1.5 meter. I think this room's length is 4.5. So I'm going to change this room length accordingly. So one important thing, we have not saved this project. So we're just going to hold Ctrl S and we're going to save it. So now we are going to increase the temperature and we're going to make this light very warm. So this is where we need the warmth. So we're going to adjust this 4.5 a bit. We're going to make it 4.8. So it will match the whole length, and we're just going to position it well. So as you can see how this is looking, we could just do the same and just copy it over to this other side. We're going to hold shift, copy this light here to this other side. Okay, there is no recess here, so I don't think it applies. So instead we're just going to push it here, we're going to rotate it, and we're going to try and place it just above this curtain here. So we're going to drag it up and we're going to leave it at this. So now it's looking too long, so we're going to go back to this parameter. We're going to change this from 4.8 to 1.2. So we're just going to push it and see where it will come out well. You can increase the warmth just a bit more again. And I think this is okay. We could just hold shift to copy this. Shift and we'll just copy this. So now we've done a lot for the lighting. We've done a lot for the materials. So We are now going to talk about, finally, we are going to enter the render settings of this view. So before we do that, just one final thing I just remembered now is, look at this. If we go back to this view, as you can see, we could see some aspect of the outside world. That is this region here, and we don't want it to be blank. What are we going to do? Of course, we are going to use our sweet green area. So we're going to find a nice juicy greenery here, and we're just going to place it here. Let's remember, let's just copy this material, and I'll also apply some good wooden material here, so we could just not leave the outside too empty. So we'll just copy this, hold shift and place it here. As you can see the level of freedom and versatility using D5 is giving me. So I'm going to go to assets, I'm going to go to online, I'm going to go to model, I'm going to go to nature. Okay, so now in our nature I've loaded, we're just going to look for a nice plant here. Let's look for a nice broadleaf plant. I'm thinking of using this purple, but I don't want something too purple. I'm looking for something green with a bit of color. Okay, let me use this. This is looking beautiful. So let's wait for it to load. So now we are just going to place this. As you can see, this thing gave us a very big tree, but we don't want it too big. We're just going to click on it, and we're going to change this parameter to, let's say, 1.8. And we're going to just raise this height up and position it well. Then we're going to go back to our view and see where it's placed. So as you can see, it's placed well, but we want it somewhere here, and we just want it somewhere here. So as you can see, this is looking good. You can see some greenery outside, you could see some skies, and it's not interfering. So now I think we're at a good position now to enter the effects and settings. Okay, so to start working on the settings, the first thing we are going to do is to just go to this effect and turn off this auto exposure from D5. What auto exposure does is that auto exposure does give you an illusion that everywhere is bright regardless of anything you do, and we're just going to update it. So now we're at 0 lighting, and so we are going to start working on the light. So as you can see, I want to highlight lighting. There is an opening here. I'm just going to go to P to exit this 2-point restrictive setting. I'm just going to click on shift to move outside this. So even though I remember I said that I'm done with lighting, but because of this effect, this lighting is still under effect. So we're just going to click on this rectangular light, and we're going to place this. So under this rectangular light, we're just going to turn it. Note that we are not going to put this rectangular light under this lighting layer, because we don't consider this an artificial light. So we are going to use this to mimic natural lighting. So we are going to adjust this, the size of this rectangle, and we're going to change the parameters. We are going to make it longer, and we're going to make it narrower. So we're just going to adjust this. We're going to drag this closer to here. We're going to bring this down, and we're going to see how it fits. We're going to increase the intensity a bit, and we're going to make the light cool. So we're going to go back to this view and see what it's doing. So as you can see, the opening here is more highlighted, and it's actually showing that there is an opening here. So we're just going to do the same and click on, let's make it kind of neutral, the color neutral, and we're just going to click on shift, and we're just going to place it here as well. So as you can see, the effect is giving. We can click on it, it's looking too much. We can hold control, and we're just going to change both of them to 40 and click OK. In short, 30. So you can see the effect is creating. So now we are going to work with our natural light now to create a juicy effect on this view. So we are going to go to environment. Now we are going to set this currently at 6 p.m. We are going to rotate this geo and sky, and let's use 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. So now we are just going to adjust this north arrow direction, and we are going to try and control the sunlight to somewhere here. Let's just use here. So we are going to place the light for some light to touch the bed at 45 degrees, so it will give it a nice setting. Or we want it to be more prominent on the bed, so let's just leave it at here so we can see some shadow and some shadow and light effect. Let's adjust this just a bit. I want it just, so this is too much. Let's leave it at here. So I think this is okay. So as you can see, we kind of have a contradictory situation that we have some light here while this daylight is on. So we're just going to click on update, and we're going to check off this lighting, this artificial lighting layer. So all the artificial lights will go off. Then we're just going to click on update. So we could also click on new to add another scene. In this second scene, we are going to turn on this artificial lighting layer, because this second scene we are going to be using an ambient setting. So for this ambient setting, environmental setting, we are going to go to environment. Instead of using this geosky, we are going to go to HDRI, and we're just going to use this early morning. So we are now going to have the freedom to use these ambient settings, and we're just going to update this. So this is for this view, and this is for this view. So as you can see the difference, we are just going to continue working on this now. So as you can see now, this place is too dark, and even in the daylight interior renderings, we still need some ambient light to support this. So we're going to turn on this light in back, and we're going to select which light we don't want to be ambient, and we're also going to we are going to select which light we don't want to be under the lighting layer. So we're going to click on P. So firstly, we're going to click on this light. As you can see, it's kind of very interactive. So we're going to be working, and we're going to be seeing the effects of what we are doing while we are working. So I'm going to click on Shift, and I'm going to copy this light. This particular light, I'm going to remove it from this lighting layer. I'm going to put it on default layer. The same thing, I'm going to do it for all these strip lights here. I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to place them on the default layer, and I'm going to make them warmer. And I'm going to reduce the attenuation radius, so the light will only be secluded to this area region where they are placed. So I'm going to go back to this view, and I'm going to see what we've done. So as you can see, I want light here to highlight. I want an accent light to highlight this green area. So to do that, I'm just going to go click on P, so we will not be restricted. Click on this light here. So as you can see, this light, we could increase the intensity just a bit. We could increase the attenuation radius, so it will hit here. As you can see, it's exposing this green area more and more, which is giving us the desired effect we want. So now we've done that, and we've done this setting. We're going to go under effect, and we're going to start editing some effects. So as you can see, the exposure is currently at 0. We could reduce it to about minus 0.6, which I think is okay. We could increase the contrast to about 0.02. We could reduce the highlight a bit. Okay, let's increase the highlight just a bit. The white balance, we could reduce it towards the cooler color. So we want to make this render just cool, so it won't be too warm and too strong. So we could increase the tint value to about 0.06. We could go to the bloom, increase the bloom to about 0.21 or 22, around that region, so it won't be too much. We could leave the lens flare. We could increase this vignette to give us that kind of background shadiness. We could increase the saturation to about 0.02, and we could just click on this update to update this render. So as you can see, the scenery, everything is looking good. I think everything is on point. So now we are done with the setting of this daylight view. We are just going to click on render, this render icon. That is this camera icon here. Let me do it again in case you didn't get it the first time. I'm just going to go over here and click on this camera icon here. So now once I've clicked on this camera icon, I've entered the rendering interface. So in this rendering interface, you can see set of parameters to adjust the render view. But what I simply do is I'm just going to change this to 3500. That is like 3K render. Then I'm just going to click on render, and I'm going to go to the place where I want it to be placed once I click on render. Okay, so now we've located where we want to render it. We are just going to name it bedroom render 1, and we're going to save it and wait for it to finish. All right, so once the render is complete, we could just simply click on open folder and see what we've done. So as you can see, this is what we've done. So normally I want to jump right into post-production, but let's see how the other view will look with all the lights, with all the artificial lights involved. So we're going to close this for now. We're going to click on close. Then we're going to go to this second view that is fully ambient. So we're going to start working on the effect. As usual, I'm going to go to effect. I'm going to reduce this exposure to minus 0. Let's use minus 0.7. Okay, so now I'm just going to rotate, go to environment, go to this rotate, and rotate the environment to see what's, just rotate it to a desired position now. And we're just going to use this now. So as usual, going to make sure our light is on, and we're going to make sure every light is on. We're just going to start working on the effect. We're going to increase the contrast. We're going to reduce the highlight just a bit. We are going to reduce the temperature of the scenery just to make it look good, and we're just going to increase the tint to about 0.06. We're going to increase the bloom more since this one is an ambient view without any daylight. We're also going to increase the lens flare just a bit, and we're going to, okay, let's reduce the lens flare. We're going to increase the saturation to adjust a bit, and I think we are done for this setting, and we're just going to click on update to update the setting here. Then we're going to click on render. Okay, before we click on render, I just want to do a few more things. I'm going to check, go back to this view. I'm going to try and click on this view that is still under the lighting layer. Then I'm just going to try and copy it to this point. Then I'm going to go back here and see what it will do for us here. Then I could just go and increase it a bit. I could increase the intensity a bit. I could just copy another one here and just leave it with the same intensity, and I'm just going to look at this. So let's see what it will do. So now we're just going to click on this, and we're going to click on, I think the exposure is still too much. I'm going to click on exposure. I'm going to reduce the exposure to around this, and I'm going to update it. I'm also going to increase the shadow the depth of the shadow to about 0.454. And I'm going to click, since we are not dealing with any daylight to support this, I'm going to click on update. So now I'm just going to click on render to render this second style. I'm going to render a bedroom render 1B. So we're going to look at the two renders, and we're going to compare the two. And we're going to click save. So now our render is complete. We could go to open folder. I could just compare these two views just for comparison. So as you can see, the first one, we can now see the ambient one. So you can see how good D5 is with both daylight and ambient views. So this is just what you can do with D5. Very wonderful stuff. Okay, so now I think we're done with D5. So now we're now going to go into post-production of these, our two rendered images. So we're going to click on Photoshop, and we're going to open Photoshop. So under this Photoshop, what we are going to do, we're just going to simply drag in our image first and start editing it. So the first thing we're going to do for editing image, we're going to go under this filter. We're going to go to camera raw filter, and we're going to start working on it from there. So it might take some time, and we will just see the camera raw filter. So as you can see, we'll start editing these parameters. Firstly, I'm going to reduce the exposure just a bit. Okay, let me reduce it to minus 0.25. Okay, so I'm just going to reduce it just a bit because it's looking too bright. I'm going to go to temperature. I'm going to increase the warmth. Okay, I think the warmth of the temperature is already too much. I'm going to reduce the warmth a bit. Then I'm going to increase the tint just a bit. Then for the highlights, I'm just going to looking at the highlights, I'm going to increase it a bit. Let's just increase it a bit. Then I'm going to increase the texture. I'm going to increase the clarity, and I'm going to increase, okay, I don't need to increase the dehaze. Let me reduce the clarity just a bit. Let me reduce the texture. Then I'm going to go to this vibrance. I'm going to increase the vibrance just a bit. I'm going to increase the saturation a little bit. Then I'm going to go to this curve. This curve actually edits the brightness and the darkness in certain areas. So I want, this place is looking too dark. I just want to increase the brightness. So I'm just going to go over this side, and I'm just going to tilt it just a little bit. So as you can see, it has brightened this region of the image. Then I'm going to go under this detail, and I'm going to increase the sharpness to about 46. Then I'm going to increase the noise reduction just a bit. Let's increase the noise reduction just a bit. Then I'm just going to click OK. So as you can see, this is the difference between the former one. You can see how it has updated, and I'm just going to click on Ctrl S. So what I'm going to do, just not to waste any time, I'm just going to click on this second, and I'm going to drag this second image. So I'm just going to click on this, open our folder, and I'm going to drag in this ambient view. Or rather, drag in this ambient view. Okay, I saw where the mistake was coming from. Then I'm just going to go under this filter layer. Instead of starting filter layer from beginning, going to this camera raw filter, I'm just going to click on this over here. What this does is that it's going to carry the setting from the previous image I edited and just place it here. So I'm just going to place this, and bam, the setting has applied. So I'm just going to click Ctrl S, and I'm going to save this, and I'm just going to close. So we're going to go back to our images, and we're going to see what we've done. So we're going to click on this image one, and we can see the render after the Photoshop editing. We can see how crispy and refined is looking. We could go to the ambient render and we're going to see how crispy is looking. So if this video was helpful, if this video was really helpful, help us too by clicking the like button, subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Also hit the notification bell to get notified once we release new videos. If you're a newbie to D5, this thing has just granted you the jump from beginner to pro in just 2 hours, or rather in just 1 hour. So just support us or thank us by hitting the like button, subscribe to this channel, share this wonderful content with your friends. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell to get notified once we release new videos. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. We'll see you again in the next video.